a long shot. Jackpot, 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 riding around the block, shooting those shots.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are on another episode of the Satchmoe Show. We are here today to present the ESFL pound for pound rankings. The first time we ever done this. Obviously, we've had the Showtime rankings before, but today we'll be ranking cross console to tell you who the top 15 players are in the ESFL. As of right now, obviously, I'm hearing reports that the season's not officially over, but we'll go ahead and call this the mid-season. You see what's going on. But they are taking a break, nevertheless. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Before we begin, got to give some honorable mentions. These honorable mentions are gonna be the fighters that, all right, let's just go ahead and tell them. I think Bang Bang, obviously he could have been on this list, but he's 3-4 this season, and it's kind of hard to put someone to the top 15. They have a losing record. Although I think he deserves to be on this list. I'm sure by the end of the year he'll find his way up here. FSK Keza, originally I was gonna put up on this list, man. He's been begging for a spot. And he's 4-2. He really deserves it, but he hasn't beat the right guys yet. Obviously his win against KM Noeta and the X, pretty good wins. But see some more for him. And the EK Harambe, he's 3-0 right now. I believe he's ranked top 5, but he's only 3-0. We haven't seen him face top guys yet, so I'm going to hold any judgment on him. Go ahead and get right into this list. At number 15, we're going to put EK Dirty Dave, the boogeyman of Xbox. He has a 3-3 record. You see that, you're like, man, why is he here? Listen, those losses he had were to GAMP, Zyaf, and YERDA. And those are 2 champions and a guy who's on this list. So, I mean, when your only losses are to other top 10 players, then, that says a lot. He also beat Hammer, who's right now the #1 contender. He's beat Otto. He's beat, all these other guys. And at the end of the day, a lot of these lower-ranked guys don't want to fight Dave because they know how, great of a wrestler he is. And that's just a hard thing to deal with unless you're one of those top guys that knows how to get up off the bottom. Really, Dirty Dave is what people think T4H is. He's that great wrestler and can't be stopped. Moving on, number 14, this time on the PlayStation side, we have SPILZ Action. And he's already had some opportunities at gold this season. He's been a title challenger, I believe, twice. But we do know, so he's 4-2. His losses are to Zyaf and Bang Bang. Like I said, Bang Bang should have been on this list. He just had some hard matchups. And then Zyaf, obviously. Nothing else needs to be said. But the only thing I think, he just needs to improve his game a little bit if he wants to be in that upper echelon. If you saw that fight against Zyaf, it wasn't very competitive. It was clear that these two guys are on different levels, but so is almost everyone. So I can't knock him for that. But he still finds himself top 15. Moving right along, number 13, SAMURAIROBIN. And if you guys saw his last fight, man, before his last fight, I think he would have been placed top 10. But there's something with that matchup with Swiss that just doesn't go well for him. He looked like he was doing the right things, and it just Swiss ended up being able to counter him at every opportunity, and it turned out pretty bad for him. So he did get that loss there. But his other losses are to IZZY and Daniel the FREEMAN, who two top PlayStation competitors right there. But I still think he's number 13. He's beat Bang Bang, UFC Turkey. That's a big win. I know he's in that upper ranks. These other guys, I'm not super familiar with PlayStation. I'm really just learning those top guys. But I still think SAMURAIROBIN, I've seen him fight. He deserves to be on this list. Number 12, back to the Xbox side, CIA WEBCAM. And originally, I guess I had a misconception. I thought WEBCAM would have been ranked higher, but then I looked at his wins, and he beat Trixie, but he didn't. Like, if you saw that fight, Trixie won the fight, but split decision, things happen. He's beat Keza, that's a big win. And he's beat AJ Guy and Warlock Unclear, and then he lost to Hammer and Fadanator. I thought he would have beat Hammer, but Hammer's been upsetting everyone so far, and then Fad, obviously great competitor, so those aren't terrible losses. And WEBCAM, his game is built around wrestling, and he's got those little slip shots as well, so he can hold his own on the feet, but I think more of a primary wrestler. But he finds himself number 12 in this list. And right above him, number 11 is Hammer. Now, this is going to be, some people are going to say he doesn't deserve to be on the list at all, and some people are going to say he deserves to be much higher. Because he has a good record, beautiful record right now, 5-2, and he's beat the right guys. He beat JC21. He beat JC21 so bad. JC hot mic'd it and called him a cunt on air, got him kicked out the league. So I mean,
seconds, a little bit of extra damage.
Boy, fuck you, you fat cunt.
I have no idea.
If you can dominate someone that ability to get them so pissed off they get kicked out the league, does say something about your fighting ability. Obviously, like I said, just beat WEBCAM, who's on the list. He beat Broomstick, who underrated striker there. His only losses this season are to Dirty Dave and KM Intro. Like I said, Dirty Dave, the boogeyman. I'm sure by the end of the year he'll be up there in the ranks, a lot higher than 15, but doesn't have the right record yet. And then KM Intro, also very underrated. Not sure if he's still in the league or not, but he's definitely a top tier player. And with Hammer, he's got the great wrestling. He does the clinch. People don't like the way he fights. I don't like the way he fights, but I'm not here to judge, who I think looks the best. I'm here to say who is the best. And right now, Hammer clearly finds himself in this list. Number 10. We got to go with Ed Parker here. Ed Parker should be ranked higher. He should, but he joined the league late in the season, and then he had the upset loss to KRATOS MMA. A lot of people, me personally, I think Ed Parker is still the best striker, or I want to say, but one of the most technical strikers. All right, he's got to be in that top 5. If you're looking at best strikers in UFC 4, he's top 5 for sure, no debate. And he's really one of the only people that can beat Zyaf or IZZY on this PlayStation side, in my opinion. So I think you got to rank him here. So far this season, he's beaten Bang Bang, he's beaten Papa Doc, he's beaten Dino. Other than, he stubbed his toe against KRATOS, but I'm sure if he continues to fight, he'll, go up to the top of that list, and he'll be ranked much higher. Number 9, man, here's YERDA at 4-2. And he's a bit of a wild card, man. This is a guy that, he's like the Michael Johnson of the league, man. He can go out there, he can lose to, he can lose the broomstick one week and then beat Blake Tyler the next. He's very hard to predict with his wins and losses, but like I said, he's beaten GAMP, former champ, beat Young Po, beat Dirty Dave, but then he lost to EK Harambe, which we're not quite sure where he fits into all this so far, but as of right now, it doesn't look good losing him. And then he also lost to Zyaf, which showed us everybody whoop-de-doo. Moving on the list, number 8, Fadanator. And Fadanator is going to be a hot take on this one, but I seriously think he is champion material. I think if Blake Tyler gives the belt away, it's going to be between him and Anthony. Y'all got a name for Anthony from the UFC 3 community. DABIKEN, what a lot of y'all call him. And it's going to be between them two, man, for the Xbox belt, if you ask me, if both Blake and Suave decide to hang him up. And the reason I say this is because his only losses are to Blake Tyler and Zyaf, which, if you're talking about two people to lose to those guys because they're the best. And he beat Caliber, who's he's ranked last in the rankings right now. I get he's like 2-4, but his easiest fight is like EK Trixie. That means had nothing but hard fights the whole time. They still haven't ranked last. I don't know what the point of that is, but he's a top fighter. WEBCAM, he beat WEBCAM, beat Edicus, beat Simple Benny, so a lot of good wins there. Just an excellent striker. Not much more needs to be said about Fadanator. And at number 7, moving up the list, KRATOS MMA. KRATOS, like I said, before, if you just asked me off the top of my head, before I really looked into this PlayStation side, KRATOS or Ed Parker. Ed Parker, are you kidding me? But KRATOS got the job done. He's a very similar style of Dirty Dave. He's got conventional boxing, and he's got some good wrestling to boot. And when I say conventional boxing, it's like the Kamaru Usman approach, where everything is just perfect, right? He's throwing the jab followed by the cross. He's setting everything up right. He's not doing this wild, shit that you might see from a competitor like Satchmoe, like just throwing out random head kicks. He don't do none of that. Everything's by the book, and it's kind of hard to beat a guy like that. You got to have some superb talent to beat someone like that. Like I said, he beat Ed Parker. Some other guys I'm not too familiar with, but I looked at the rankings. They're up there, so some good wins. Only lost this season, Daniel the Freeman, who's been the wild card of all wild cards. We're going to go ahead and go up on the list here. Number 6 is GAMP. And now GAMP right now, he's going to get a lot of hate. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. But man, he's one of only 4 champions so far this entire season. If you don't have him in your top 10, just because he had 2 fights, he had the longest winning streak this season. People don't realize that. Like, Zyaf was really good at the start. GAMP was really good at the start of the season. He won 6 straight fights. He beat Zyaf. He beat Satchmoe Life, EK Jakey, beat Intro, beat Jamie Bucks, and beat Dirty Dave all in a row. Like, are you kidding me? And then his only losses are to Blake Tyler and YERDA, 2 top competitors right there. And so you really just can't hate on this guy. Fantastic striker. Obviously has an amazing side control. There's not much more that needs to be said. Number 5. This is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be surprising. PlayStation player, Daniel the Freeman. What's been surprising is his run to the top so far. He hasn't gotten a championship opportunity yet. But man, when this guy gets it, I'm sure he's going to perform. Obviously, he did have the loss to IZZY very recently, but he's carried the CAF community on his back. Before Daniel the Freeman got here, everyone looked at the CAF community as a bunch of 12-year-olds that just talk shit and don't know what they're doing. People still look at him that way, but they look at Daniel the Freeman as a legit fighter. And I think he's next in line for a title opportunity after IZZY. He beat SAMURAIROBIN, beat KRATOS MMA. Like, he's beating some top guys out here. And he's been done in spectacular fashion with a created fighter. You know, not something we've seen in the ESFL community, I think, ever. I'm not sure if there's ever been a calf main in the ESFL. I'm pretty sure he's the first one. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. But moving right on the list, number 4 is DABIKEN. And people are going to sit here and say I'm a hypocrite, because I put DABIKEN at 3-0 at number 4, but EK Harambe at 3-0 is off the list. DABIKEN, UFC 3 champ, I believe, right? He was like the some ultimate champion earlier at UFC 4. And the only reason he's only 3-0 is because he chose not to fight. It's not he didn't get an opportunity. It's not, oh, he lost, he just didn't want to fight. He came back, got 3 straight knockouts against KM Intro, EK Jakey, EK Dino. Those are all proven talents. And I believe if Blake Tyler leaves, or even if he doesn't, he's still the top, most likely to grab gold in that Xbox side. Just fantastic all-around game. You really can't find a hole in it. And yeah, he's ranked number 4 on the list. At number 3, we have IZZY. And now I thought long and hard whether he should be ranked number 3 or number 2. Because if you watch the fights against Zyaf, he had spectacular performance in both fights. The fight he lost, he was using Rob Font against a Peter Yan, which is an extremely hard matchup, and he still looked good. He's the most technical striker, period. I think when it comes to, throwing the feints and all that, nothing else even comes close. He's the best. Just overall his striking's great. And I mean, that's why he beat Zyaf, he beat SAMURAIROBIN, he beat Daniel the Freeman, all these big names, because he's such a technical striker. A lot of people don't know how to solve that puzzle. Moving on, number 2, not Blake Tyler, Zyaf. Zyaf at number 2. He started off the season 5-0 on both consoles, looked unstoppable. Even though he's had a lot of bumps in the road, he lost to Blake Tyler, lost to GAMP, lost to IZZY, but you can't just overlook what he's done. He was the first person to ever defend both an Xbox and a PlayStation belt, and he did that consecutively. He did multiple defenses. He defended against, Fadanator, Dirty Dave, YERDA. I don't know who Turk the Terror is, but he got him, Bang Bang. All these top guys he's able to defend his belt against. I mean, looked super impressive doing it. People were saying this guy is the greatest of all time when he was on that run. You can't overlook that and say, oh, well, that's the reason I put Zyaf above IZZY's, because he's never had that title run. First, I think IZZY held the title, maybe, I don't even know if he defended it successfully, I believe, because he took a week off and then he fought Zyaf right after. But however the case is, man, Zyaf ran off with both belts. And when everyone's looking to figure out how to stop you, of course you're going to lose at some point. He didn't just have one console all trying to beat him. He had both consoles coming together trying to figure out what his weaknesses are. And when that happens, your puzzle's going to be solved. And number 1, of course, the double champ, Blake Tyler. Not enough can be said about the spectacular performance he put on against Zyaf. I haven't overviewed it yet. We might even have to do Daniel Cormier detailed, whatever he calls that series, man. Look into dude, that performance was spectacular. He didn't miss a shot, slipped every straight, just did everything right. Hit him with some combos that we ain't seen from him before. Looked beautiful, just completely dominant. I mean, and when you look at the guys he's beaten, Zyaf, Fadanator, GAMP, those 3 guys are on the list. And you go T4H Holloway, who most talented T4H player there is. And that says a lot coming from a camp who, has the top guys at Xbox, whatever. And he also beat EK Slick, very talented striker there. Not much more needs to be said, man. That's the list. If you guys like this video, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next Satchmoe show.
Heat. I be selling that heat. What you got on your feet? Air Force One, that's some